So let's go to Hannity next. This is, we're building up. Hannity has his feelings about it. This is the Russia collusion's always been bullshit. It's about fucking time we dealt with this. And he's so glad we're over it now. It proves no collusion, and no collusion. Because the entire investigation was not actually started because of the Steele dossier. And so even if it was, them investigating it being a preliminary investigation, he thinks if they'd have just looked at that as a preliminary investigation, it was the only thing they looked at, they would have never moved to a formal investigation. Unfortunately for him, Papadopoulos yammered to that Australian diplomat, and the Australian diplomat made a phone call and said, hey, I don't want to speak out of school, but we got this dingo head over here sitting on a bar saying that Russia's going to help Trump get elected. And that's what actually kicked it into high gear. And the other stuff, they could either verify or not verify, but that doesn't mean it's not true. They just couldn't. They have a standard of verification that's, say, higher than the media and then way higher than me or any just regular individual who can, talk shit on the internet. All right, so here we go. This is it. Hannity, this is titled The Russia Hysteria Has Ended.
Great job. Thank you. Welcome to Hannity. It is another major breaking news night tonight. In a moment, a live report from the border. Our own
You sent someone. I see.
Bill Malugin, where
it's still daytime, even though you're on at night.
Apprehensions now are peaking.
No, well, they have peaked and gone down, I think is the idea. That's the hard part. This is yesterday. This is last night. Apprehensions have cratered. As a matter of fact, some of you may have seen on MSNBC today, they were talking about to some people working with NGOs. I think Jose Diaz-Balart was talking to a woman who works with NGOs down there, and she said literally as she walked up, and they had to tell everybody who was waiting in line what the requirements were and the new rules were, which is if you apply and you get rejected, you can't try again for 5 years. If you try it at the border, you have to do it through these other means, and if you talk to somebody, they'll help you through that process. But half the line left, which is about in line with the 50% drop-off that we saw because those folks knew that they wouldn't qualify. So anyways, but they're peaking as they have peaked because somebody's peaking.
At over 10,000 per day, including individuals on the terror watch list.
That's the prediction part. That didn't play out.
1,000 more.
Thousands more. And by the way, can I just say, of the immigrants that are waiting in line to cross the border, I don't know how the cartels do it. How do they talk these people into being so polite? I guess it's fear. It's probably violence. You know what I mean? And I guess if you're standing in line with 14 balloons of fentanyl up your ass in 106-degree heat, why would you fidget? I'm of course joking. If you'll notice, the video shows very civil people waiting their turn to make their case. God forbid.
Have evaded arrest, and as we speak, we have homeless veterans in this country. They are now being kicked out of hotel rooms just to accommodate those that
bullshit
are breaking our laws and our sovereignty and not respecting our borders.
Nonsense. Fuck you. Dietzer, it didn't happen. And a single anecdotal person who refused to move to permanent housing because they were using the temp housing for somebody else does not count. Fuck you.
But Joe Biden, he seems to think it's all big, one laughing matter. Texas Congressman Chip Roy.
He's just showing off the fact that he can ride a bike and Trump can't.
He will join us with reaction straight ahead. And later, more from
Chip Roy. Great. I'm glad we're getting an expert.
Judge Janine's interview with the attorney representing that Marine vet who was charged with manslaughter in the death of a violent homeless man on a New York City subway.
Just jump. Just get to the fucking border shit. Yeah, I don't care who you're going to talk to. Talk to them. All right, here we go. All right, the left's Russia, 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 the left's big lie. Here we go.
Every Trump hater in this country. Take a
And by the way, most of them aren't Trump haters. They could care less about the man. It's his behavior and his total lack of character and his sort of disgusting demeanor that they hate. If he dropped all those things, I honestly think a lot of them would they'd avoid him, but they wouldn't seek out shitting on him. I wouldn't.
New fallout tonight in the Russia investigation.
Yeah, because Lester Holt is look how they cut away. He's just literally reporting.
Russian.
Russia's.
Russian.
Russians.
Russian. 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 Russia. Russia.
Russia. Russia. Russia.
Russian.
Russian.
Russia.
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 Russian. Russia.
Russian. Russians. Russian. Russia. 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 It's Russia. Russia. The Russian.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's basically like this is what happens when you flip through the Mueller report.
Russia. Russia. Russia.
Russia. Russians. The Russian. Russia. And the Russia.
The Russian. Russia.
The Russian. Russia. Russia.
Russia. Russia. Russia. Russia.
Now, the left's Russia hysteria has officially come to an end.
Well, it was never hysteria. I mean, it was an awareness that he was basically a Putin ball gargler the entire time.
After years and years and years of
Oh, so much Hannity. Why do you have to put it? It's just we put up this for so long. We put it up for so. Now it's finally done because Durham has shown them the door.
waiting with the 2020 election safely now in the rearview mirror, the DOJ has finally published the findings of the
Published? He didn't finish it like on November 1st, you asshole. He just finished it. He did.
Durham probe. Remember that?
I really don't, honestly. Yeah, the probe. Yeah, something about a I don't know, something about a probe.
Moon River.
I don't know. Tell me about the Durham probe.
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
All right.
Now, long story short, every single thing that we reported to you on this program, we were correct. We've been vindicated time
No, you haven't.
and again, especially
No, you haven't.
today.
That's just ridiculous. But by the way, notice how he's not even saying about Russia. He's just saying in general on his show, which is, I mean, it's Hannity speak for all I do is lie.
Everything the media mob reported for almost 3 long years, day in and day out, nothing but lies and conspiracy theories. Adam Schiff was the congenital liar that we told you about. It only took the DOJ 7
Well, technically speaking, the only person lying about genitals was Trump. I believe Stormy. I'm just saying. Hashtag I believe Stormy. Just now I can't get Mario Kart out of my head for some reason. It's weird.
years to get to the truth. It's pretty incredible, damaging, corruption. That sadly...
And you read it, did you? All of it today? I'm sure he'll hit it with his staff leaf through it. Let's see some cutouts.
is now going unpunished and will remain unpunished. But
Oh, because Durham didn't find any actionable illegal things at all. He just had a difference of opinion about how the investigation should have or shouldn't have started. What would have qualified as a good reason to start it versus what he thinks. Because ultimately what they found ended up in a lot of people getting convicted in a court of law, many of them pleading guilty. But fuck that.
But tonight, to be clear, there is no dispute. Trump-Russia collusion never, ever happened.
Well, again, the campaign colluded. The idea that Trump colluded when he was really, I'm just saying, Jeff Dunham does not collude with his puppets. He just shoves his hand up their ass and they do what they're told. I wouldn't call that collusion either, Sean.
It was a hoax and a lie, but more appropriately, it looks more like an attempted coup.
Uh-huh. Oh, because they weaponize the idiocy of the American people and our gullibility. Well, it's the thing about Democrats. We love the uneducated.
A nearly 3-year running political smear job against Donald J. Trump.
That only snagged 8 people in his orbit that went to jail, and he had to pardon half of them.
All orchestrated. I agree. I'm a dope.
All right, sorry.
Orchestrated by Democrats with the help of the DOJ and the FBI.
And the deep state, and the establishment, and the Illuminati, and probably some branch
And, of
Davidians.
course, the never-ending lies of the media mob. They spoke with one voice. And
Unlike the variety of opinion we see at Fox News.
According to Durham's findings, there was no
Durham finds DOJ FBI failed to uphold mission of strict fidelity to the law in Trump-Russia. Oh, God. Talk about threading a fucking needle. And that's the best you can come up with. That is a FoxNews.com headline version of shit. I just, like, at a certain point, they sound like Bruce McCullough's character on Kids in the Hall, the kid with the thick glasses he used to play. And the FBI, they didn't do anything they were supposed to do because they're supposed to stay true, and they failed to uphold the mission of a strict fidelity to the law. I have a scab. You want to see it?
legitimate reason for the FBI to even...
That is, I gotta say, like, it's bad enough that Durham's weak sauce, but you couldn't find... There's a bunch of right-wing sites out there that had way more, like, fiery headlines and tweets and shit. Is it because they're competitors? Is that why you couldn't use their shit and you had to fall back on this? Durham finds DOJ, FBI failed to uphold mission of strict fidelity to the law in Trump-Russia probe. Yeah, fucking hell. It's like he's like, how do I write something that sounds as much like a defense attorney for Trump as possible?
Opened their investigation into Trump-Russia collusion, laughably named Crossfire Hurricane. Quote, the Crossfire Hurricane investigators did not and could not corroborate any of the substantive allegations contained in the Steele reporting.
That's interesting. So I appreciate you going to that, and I know you're using the same quote from the Fox News story as opposed to just grabbing it yourself. Define substantive. Besides, difficult to say, because there's a lot of these that I think on a character level for a presidency and on a personal level fit in with his whole grab him by the pussy behavior, and these substantive allegations. Might be just, what, to you, the PP tape and that's it?
Nor was Steele able to produce corroboration for any of the reported allegations, even after being offered $1 million or more by the FBI for such corroboration.
All right. First of all, what Steele went and got was Oppo research. It was the whisper of reality. He couldn't get evidence because it's inside fucking Russia, largely in a giant criminal organization. Unless he's going to go undercover and get himself fucking snuffed, which I guess is what they hoped for in the process. Maybe I wish he'd have gone undercover and never come back. But that doesn't matter. They didn't predicate the entire investigation on specifically the Steele dossier. They did not. They didn't. I don't know, and neither do you, if the Steele dossier is why Ivanka allegedly slept with him. We don't know. I wouldn't doubt it. Maybe that was a bargaining chip. Let's just be really awful for a second. But again, it wasn't his job to corroborate it. He literally came to the FBI to get them to corroborate it. He's like, guys, you need to look into this. You have access to stuff I don't have. This is what we're hearing. That's what, by the way, that's what all spies do, short of the ones that actually get direct intel, human int. The stuff that, Trump endangers every time he fucking invites somebody to Mar-a-Lago. The spies that we have, most of them get, they get in relationships and friendships with people. They start hearing people on the whispers of stuff, and then they relay it to people to see if it shows up, if that chatter shows someplace else. And eventually, maybe, sometimes, they'll be assigned to get hard intel from some fucking place. Right? That's what he did. And by the way, one of the reasons he came to he was originally hired by the Washington Free Beacon to make this Oppo research, because they were, as Republicans, they were going against Trump. They were like, he's going to fuck up our party. And they were right. But after a while, they decided to jump on the Trump train. And so they sold it, the company that they hired to actually make it with Chris Steele, sold it to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And the Hillary Clinton campaign said, we're going to win anyways. We don't need to use this. We're not going to talk about fucking PP tapes. This guy's gross. Especially after the Access Hollywood thing. There's no reason in many ways. He was his own fucking October surprise. in retrospect, that was a mistake. They should have done a much bigger push of it. That said, though, it wasn't, one of the attorneys who worked at the law firm that the Clinton campaign hired saw this thing and went, why is nobody acting on this shit? And he went to the FBI and went, what the fuck? Look at this. And at the same time, Christopher Steele was like, they're not going to do anything about this. They're not bringing this to public attention, and they're not bringing it to the law enforcement because it's just oppo research, and they feel like they feel good about their chances of winning, and so they're not going to push this shit because it's so gross. And both Chris Steele and the lawyer at the law firm both went to the FBI and said, you guys got to look into this shit. The point wasn't that they were able to corroborate it. The point is that they heard enough. There was enough smoke that there was fire, and they're like, the FBI needs to look into this shit. And the primary junction point of all of this stuff was Trump's finances through Deutsche Bank and where that money came from. And Barr specifically stopped Mueller from looking into that shit because that was the motive.
Now, of course, Christopher Steele and his dirty dossier, that was all funded by Hillary Clinton and her
No. They bought it after the fact. It had already been pre-funded.
Campaign and the DNC that they could.
March 31st, 2022 on ABS. DNC Clinton campaign agreed to Steele dossier funding fine.
Controlled. It was the very basis of Crossfire Hurricane. As
no, it wasn't.
Durham put it, quote, there was significant reliance on investigative leads provided or funded directly or indirectly by Trump's political opponents.
Jesus Christ, like water this shit down some more. Fucking hell. Is like the Durham, I mean, we knew it was going to be a fucking, we knew that it was going to be a dud, but this is like all soft pitch. This is all softballs.
In other words, in the height of a presidential election, the Clinton campaign literally spoon-fed a baseless political smear against her opponent to the FBI.
No, that's not what we just read, dumb fuck. Look at this. In particular, there was a significant reliance on investigative leads provided or funded directly or indirectly by Trump's political opponents. So because Steele did it for the Washington Free Beacon, and the Washington Free Beacon through Fusion GPS sold it to the Hillary Clinton campaign, and they paid for it, that's pretty fucking indirect, by the way, because they refused to act on it on stuff that they had bought as information for campaign sake. Because they didn't move on it, he took it to the FBI, not at their direction. As a matter of fact, sort of against their direction. Even the attorney at the legal firm that worked with the campaign saw this and did it on his fucking own. But you'll notice what this actually says, because I don't pick the fucking quotes he puts up. He does. And then, there's always an aspect of like audiobook for idiots that Hannity and Ingram's show is, and certainly Tucker's was for a long time, where they'll basically like talk about spoon feeding. They'll spoon feed you a story through their kind of porous sponge brain interpretation of clips of chunks of slices of even smaller pieces of it. Read what this is. In particular, there was a significant reliance on investigative leads, not the details, not the facts, not what they ultimately found, because what they found, not the leads, but the actual evidence, led to a bunch of people getting tried and convicted, and many of them pleading guilty. The leads paid off. The leads led somewhere. Provided or funded, directly or indirectly. So they were indirectly provided because they said, these are ours, and somebody else took them off a desk and walked them someplace else. Pretty, like, indirectly is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. By Trump's political opponents. And by the way, that could be fucking anybody at that point. It's one thing to say it's the Clinton campaign, but they didn't actively do it. They didn't actively take that shit to the FBI or the DOJ. Now, look at that spongy softball phrase. Just trying to find its way into the basement, right? Now, Watch this shit. Watch his interpretation of what he just showed you.
In other words, in the height
In other words, this is Hannity translates.
of a presidential election, the Clinton campaign literally spoon-fed a baseless political smear against her opponent to the FBI.
Literally spoon-fed. In other words, literally indirectly spoon-fed. I mean, it was a long fucking spoon, and other people held it. And of course, it wasn't really a spoon, it was a fork, and it actually had substance on it. These were rumors so thick you could eat them with a fork.
The FBI then eagerly tried to corroborate all these baseless smears. And
These basilisks.
I agree.
What kind of
I'm
smears?
a dope.
Hold on.
I then eagerly tried to corroborate all these baseless smears.
Baselix. Isn't Baselix a DJ? I'm sorry. Looks kind of like Corey Feldman. No. All right. They eagerly tried to do this. You remember when they were eagerly trying to do this? Yeah, right about the time Comey came out and said there's more to the Hillary Clinton email thing than there actually was, and then it turned out to be nothing. Remember that? Remember? You don't remember? We all remember.
And when they couldn't, well, the Bureau still used the unverifiable Steele dossier to then go to a FISA court.
I never realized until this moment just how much Comey kind of looks like Peter Gabriel's older brother, who's slightly taller and works in construction. FISA abuse. By the way, this, if you'll recognize, this is also a nice moment in this freeze frame. This is basically reality happening right here. Here's Comey, here's him. Now, look at Sean Hannity has a tendency to do this, like, look off down to the corner thing whenever he is aware that he doesn't know what he's talking about, which is not all the time. Sometimes he's so stupid he thinks he's right. But occasionally he's at least aware that he's talking out of his ass, and he tends to do that. It's the same thing Greg Kelly does. He pulls a Greg Kelly. He does this whole like that happens all the time.
Lie to a FISA court, saying it was verified, it's unverifiable, for the purpose of ruining one man's life, Carter Page.
Carter Page was a courier. Fuck Carter Page. Carter Page had his FISA warrant modified so that it would be less likely for them to re-up it. Because originally the FISA warrant that he had against him said that he had previously done work for the CIA. He had previously been, questioned or a witness or helpful in something before. And when they re-upped the application, the dude who filled it out took out the part, and everybody's like, they forged it. Get the fuck out. He didn't add the detail that Carter Page had formerly worked for the CIA. Now, if you formerly worked with the CIA, a FISA court is going to be more concerned about you fucking around and possibly being a danger to the country than some random fuck. They don't care. Right? If you're an average citizen, they're going to go, well, we can't just jump down an average citizen's throat because what the chances that he actually fucking knows anything that as a spy or that he could give information. He doesn't access, nor did he ever have access to that level of intel, so we don't really have to worry about it. So you have to make a really big case that we got to follow this fucking guy around. But in the case of Carter Page, the fact that he had been involved in this shit before and his connections to Gazprom in particular, where he lied that he worked for Merrill Lynch doing a deal with Gazprom when he was just working with Gazprom directly and living in Russia for years at a time and that kind of shit, that would make the FISA court more likely. They go, oh wait, this guy is spending a shit ton of time canoodling with Russians and he used to be a CIA asset. That's something to worry about. Hence, we need to extend his FISA warrant because there's something dangerous there. But if he's a random asshole you can't believe he would have access to anything, and he's part of a campaign that hasn't been in the White House yet, the chances are lower. So that guy tried to switch around the FISA warrant so he would be less likely to follow Carter Page around right about the time he was handing shit out to the Sergei Lavrovs of the world. And there will be no email chain that deals with Carter Page the way they were with, say, George Papadopoulos, because no one is fucking stupid enough to email Carter Page about anything important. Because if you saw his interview with Chris Hayes, he is primed to be honeypotted.
To spy on a backdoor way on the Trump campaign.
I'm sorry, on a what?
You could say it's a back door, but I call it a smart door.
To spy in a backdoor way.
Later, his transition team, and then a president of the United States. Now, the totally
hey.
I agree. I'm a dope.
Look, the totally, whatever you call it.
President of the United States. Now, the totally the total dossier was the very basis of a FISA application, 3 subsequent renewals. They lied 4 times to a FISA court, lying to a court at the top of a FISA warrant. It says verified. It was all unverifiable.
And by the way, no. Secondly, the verified things were nobody. The idea that you were in an investigation and you have all the details you need, and therefore you need to surveil someone, is sort of goofy. Also, they stand by what they know, and they present as information or as true. They either know it factually or they know it via an information source that they deem credible. If they can't verify it, they still believe the source is worthwhile. That's how all search warrants and surveillance are done. Otherwise, no one would have ever brought down any mob ever. Now, that's part of this. Let's be abundantly clear. Hannity and his bros and that crowd around Trump especially are very scared of RICO law, and they're really scared that it will actually be used against them functionally. So they're pushing back on the idea that they don't even have the right to look at people. They're just looking at people. They don't even have the right to look at people. They can't look at people. They can't look. They don't even have a verifiable reason to. Okay, fuck off. You're sounding like a mid-'80s defense attorney for a casino magnate.
Even after swearing that evidence was true and verified, Durham found that the FBI, under Comey's tremendous leadership, even withheld exculpatory evidence from the FISA court. Quote, FBI personnel working on that same FISA application displayed at best a cavalier attitude towards accuracy and completeness.
Motherfucker, again, the detail they left out on Carter Page was an attempt to help him. The judge just didn't buy it. They left out the detail that he had previously been a CIA asset. They left it out because the judge would go, oh, that guy might have some secrets worth selling. Yeah, keep an eye on that fucker. So they took it out. But I guess, these are the kind of quotes you get. I mean, you want no collusion with an exclamation point, right? And this is what you're getting. At best, a cavalier attitude. Well, it's true. During the entire Crossfire Hurricane investigation, often the FBI could be seen wearing their hats with the brim tipped down and moving their hands like this. Some of them even grew wispy mustaches. Cavalier attitude. Jesus Christ. They all carry rapiers with them. Just on guard, Mr. Steele. I think release the P-tape. I know you have it hidden on you somewhere. Oh, that's not under that zipper. Zip, zip. Now. Ding.
The report continues, quote, FBI personnel also repeatedly disregarded important requirements when they continue to seek renewals of that FISA surveillance while acknowledging both then and in hindsight that they did not genuinely believe there was probable cause to believe that the target was knowingly engaged in clandestine intelligence activities on behalf of a foreign power or knowingly helping another person in such activities.
That's interesting. I mean, I know there's probably some legal speak aspect that's how these things work in a causal situation in terms of delivering a case. But that does that stand out to anybody else? Knowingly helping another person in such activities? So you're telling me they didn't let Carter Page read all the shit that was in the folder that was taped shut that he was supposed to hand to Sergei Lavrov at the RNC? So you're telling me the entire thing was stacked around plausible deniability, and we're all supposed to pretend that shit doesn't happen? The fuck out of here.
Let's put it simply.
Well, in deference to his audience, this is Sean Hannity calling his audience stupid.
The FBI knew it was BS. So did the Clinton campaign. So did Adam Schiff. So did Jim Comey.
So do I.
So did Peter Strzok and Company. So did Clapper. So did Brennan.
No. This is an opinion and the sort of the lowest form of assertion.
And so did the entire media mob.
The whole mob did. Oh, I wasn't part of the media mob, so I'm forgiven, I guess. And I call bullshit on everything you're saying. You know why? Because I actually read the Mueller report.
Everyone went hook, line, and sinker. Everyone pushing the Russia collusion coup was lying to flip a presidential election. Well, for example, here's Hillary Clinton on October 31st, 2016, quote, computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert serving linking the... I agree. I'm a dope.
There's a covert serving. It was another piece of beautiful chocolate cake that was covertly delivered.
Computer scientists.
Hold on. Say that again.
Here's Hillary Clinton on October.
Here's Hirohito.
31st, 2016, quote, computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert serving linking the Trump organization to a Russia bank. That was a lie that Hillary just can't seem to quit. Take a look.
The apparently part? Hold on. By the way, hold on. Let me, if I may. Let's go with... I gotta misspell it. Let's see. Okay, let me grab this real quick. Hold on. Break this down. Block. Go away. Open link a new tab. Open link a new tab. This is September. And this should come. Hold on. Go away. Shoo. All right. Here you go. The contested afterlife of the Trump Alpha Bank story. 2 years ago, I wrote about a mysterious series of computer contacts between the Trump Organization and Alpha Bank, one of the most powerful financial institutions in Russia, for 4 months. During the summer before the 2016 election, 2 servers registered to the bank repeatedly looked up the address of another server maintained by a mass marketing firm for the Trump Organization. Thousands of these lookups, which typically precede communication, appeared in the logs of the domain name system, a global database of online addresses. The traffic was noted by a group of prominent computer scientists with unusual access to those records, but the DNS traces were inconclusive and required sophisticated analysis. The Trump Organization and Alpha Bank denied that they had been communicating at all, and the episode remained a mystery. Since then, Alpha Bank's lawyers in the United States have carried out an aggressive campaign to uncover the identity of the sources who gathered the DNS logs, filing lawsuits and serving subpoenas under some of America's leading computer experts, and some of whom helped decipher the logs for the New Yorker. 2 lawsuits filed against John Doe et al., the unidentified scientist who discovered the seeming evidence of communication, claim, without offering evidence, that malicious people doctored the data in an effort to smear Alpha Bank and the Trump campaign. Remarkably, Alpha Bank's legal efforts are proceeding in parallel with the Justice Department and its allies in the conservative press, who have waged a relentless campaign against American intelligence and the FBI for what they describe as a malign effort to concoct a false story about Russia's efforts to help Trump in 2016. In recent weeks, scientists and others quoted in my story have been summoned to testify to a grand jury impaneled by John Durham, the U.S. attorney appointed by Bill Barr to investigate potential criminal conduct in the Russia probe. It is unclear whether the lawyers for the Justice Department or Alpha Bank are working together, but they share an interest in pursuing people who have investigated Trump's ties to Russia. There's a unity of purpose, one lawyer involved in the litigation told me. Alpha Bank's relationship with Trump is opaque, and official documents resulting from a series of investigations and counter-investigations into Russia's interference in the 2016 election offer few decisive conclusions. In the special counsel Robert Mueller's final report, Peter Avon, the chairman of Alpha Bank, testified that he tried, at Putin's suggestion, to open a private channel to the incoming Trump administration. Mueller's report didn't mention the Alpha Bank data, but one issued that this summer by the State Intelligence Committee did. It said that although investigators did not conclude that the data necessarily reflected communication, they also could not positively determine an intent or purpose that would explain the unusual activity. It added, this is a testimony that Durham has been relying on. Here you go. Here's another one. Shall we jump into this one? Indictment lawsuits revive Trump Alpha Bank story. This is September 2021. In 2016, media outlets, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Trump organization, one of our, those publications set up speculation about a possible secret back channel. Since 2018, access to an exhaustive report commissioned by the U.S. Senate Arms Services Committee on data that prompted those experts to seek out the FBI has been limited to a handful of Senate committee leaders, Alpha Bank and special prosecutors, and appointed to look into the origins. That's Durham. On alleged ties. That report is now public. Ironically, thanks to a pair of lawsuits filed by Alpha Bank, which doesn't directly dispute the information collected by the researchers. Rather, it claims that the data they found was the result of a highly sophisticated cyber attack against it in 2016 and 2017. So the idea is that this isn't, it isn't fake. It was, it wasn't fake by the reporters or the scientists that actually saw it, or by Hillary Clinton to report it or what have you, but it was because of an attack that happened in 2016, 2017. By the way, same time the Russians were attacking Burisma and other places, and the Russians have a habit of not taking things, except when you talk about like vaccine information, but also leaving things. The tendency when Russians hack into a system is to add files and then cover their tracks, like Danny in The Shining, to fabricate apparent communications between Alpha Bank and the Trump Organization. The data at issue refers to communications traversing the domain name system, a global database, blah, blah, yeah, we know this, their IP addresses. Many different entities capture and record this DNS data as it traverses the public internet, allowing researchers to go back later and see which internet addresses resolve to what domain names, when, and for how long. The DNS strangeness was first identified in 2016 by a group of security experts who told reporters they were alarmed at the hacking of the DNC and grew concerned that the same attackers might also target Republican leaders and institutions. They were looking to help Trump. Scrutinizing the Trump Organization's online footprint, the researchers determined that for several months during the spring and summer of 2016, internet servers at Alpha Bank in Russia, Spectrum Health in Michigan, and Heartland Payment Systems in New Jersey. And by the way, that's, what's her name, Betsy DeVos's company? And Heartland Payment System in New Jersey accounted for nearly all of the several thousand DNS lookups for a specific Trump Organization server, mail1.trumpemail.com, which is where they would, they basically had a dead server that they had. By the way, where's the server? Why can't we see the server? Why won't Trump turn over the server? 39% of the lookups, 1,392 during a short period, were to this IP address from Alpha Bank. As recounted in the 2018 New Yorker story, New York Times journalist Eric Lichtblau, simmer down, met with FBI officials in late September 2016 to discuss the researchers' finding. The Bureau asked him to hold the story because publishing it might disrupt an ongoing investigation. On September 21st, 2016, Lichtblau,
Moon River,
reportedly shared the DNS data with BGER, a Washington lobbying firm that worked with Alpha Bank. Lichtblau's reporting on the DNS findings ended up buried in an October 2016 story entitled Investigating Donald Trump, FBI sees no clear link to Russia. Oh, the irony. After he shared it with the lobbying group that worked with Alpha Bank, this is the story he wrote. After being told not to, by the way. Hang out because they're actually investigating something. Which stated that the FBI ultimately concluded that there could be an innocuous explanation like marketing email or spam. Yes, because 39% of my spam comes from a Russian bank. Doesn't end that with yours as well? Fuck out of here. Okay, next one. Trump Trump Alpha Bank server mystery resurfaces. September 2nd, 2020. This is closer to when Hillary posted. Let's see. Based on the FBI's assessment, the committee did not find the DNS activity reflected the existence of covert communications between Alpha Bank and Trump Organization personnel. However, the committee also could not positively determine an intent or purpose that could explain the unusual activity. Same thing we saw before. And then here, we still don't know why a Trump server has mysterious connections to a Russian bank despite DOJ indictment. This is October 1st, 2021. In September, the Justice Department brought an indictment against a cybersecurity lawyer with connections to the Democratic Party, accusing him of lying to the FBI in 2016 when he peddled a story about how the Trump Organization had hidden connections with the Russian bank. Charges came from an investigation led by John Durham. The origins of the FBI investigation into former President Donald Trump's ties to Russia, as he hoped Durham would go after former FBI Director Comey and Mueller probe, blah, blah, blah. Recent indictment gave oxygen to Trump supporters who saw the Mueller investigation as a witch hunt, but legal experts are skeptical about the charges. It failed too, by the way. He was not, that guy did not go to jail. Mysterious connections between that and 2016. They talk about what we just talked about. The researchers who the New York Times has identified as Zedalytic, yeah. Chief data scientist April Lorenzen and Georgia Tech computer scientist Manos Antonikakis, and you simmer down, David Dagon, made their findings by studying DNS logs and blah, blah, blah. Okay, more nerd talk that only I enjoy. 3 possible explanations. Claims Sussman misled the FBI about his clients, saying he represented not just Joffe, but also Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. That's the lawyer who he tried to charge, and that failed because he came on his own. Because if you have awareness that there is a crime going on and your boss tells you they're not worried about it, they're not going to act on it, you can still go to the cops. If they go, I don't think there's enough here, you can go, I do, and go to the fucking cops.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president.
I think it's also critical to understand that, as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
Yeah, that's what Trump's been saying.
Wow, what has happened to our country?
Yeah, what kind of an asshole says the election was stolen after they lose? You know what I mean? Like, what weak sauce is that? That was like 2 years after the election. Who the fuck 2 years after an election they lost? Oh, I don't think he, the kidney.
Hillary Clinton is delusional, and she's not the...
Yeah, but Trump's firing on all cylinders. It was ripped off, stolen, so rigged. They stuffed the ballots, and then they stuffed even more.
River.
The only one. Congenital liar Adam Schiff said there was...
Congenital is a difficult word for Sean Hannity to say. I just think I would go with habitual if I was his writers. Just say habitual liar. Yeah. Liar's obviously a hard word for me, so, you know.
Ample evidence of collusion. That...
Hold on. The Independent. Adam Schiff defends Christopher Steele dossier on Trump-Russia connection, saying top line was all too true. The top line. What, that Trump is a corrupt fuck with a history of sexual depravity and grossness? You did hear the Access Hollywood tape, right?
That was a lie. Remember
no.
Fang's best friend, former lover, also championing...
Also, what proof do you have that they fucked? I mean, besides you just being a creeposaurus, what evidence? I know she was trying to get close to the campaign. I know she worked as a bundler. And I also know, like you do, that the FBI came to him and said, we think she's a spy, and they cut off all contact, and she went back to China, and she hasn't been seen since. We know that. That's what we do know. Where's the dirty pictures? I mean, honestly, I don't want to see them, but I would like to see blurred out versions.
The evidence of collusion, Eric Swalwell, he was lying. And we could go on.
No, he wasn't.
And on and on.
You do go on and on and on, Sean. That's your show.
I agree. I'm a dope. Here are some of the biggest political and deep state liars in their own...
Oh, deep state. That was late. We had to wait for a long fucking time for that one.
You decide.
You believe the
I already have.
president right now has been an agent of the Russians?
Yes, I think there's more evidence than he is. Yes, and I think all the arrows point in that direction, and I haven't seen a single piece of evidence that he's not.
I think he's afraid of the president of Russia.
Why?
Well, I think one can speculate as to why. That the Russians may have something on him personally that they could always roll out and make his life more difficult.
This past weekend is illustrative of what a great case officer Vladimir Putin is. He knows how to handle an asset, and that's what he's doing with the president.
By the way, that's an important distinction I would like to make. I don't think that, and you can't play, ducks and drakes with these kind of terms. I think that Trump is more akin to being an asset than an agent, because no one would trust him to carry out an actual mission except maggots.
The American people need to know whether the Russians still have something they can hold over the president's head, the president of the United States.
Yeah, something that might make him leave the White House with classified documents and folders full of classified documents that would somehow end up empty.
So our work is far from done. I could certainly say with confidence that there is significant evidence of collusion between the campaign and Russia.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't just the deep state for years. If you
deep state for years, there's no deep state. We have a functioning government that requires people to continue working under whoever gets elected and following the directives of the people who get elected, insofar as they meet the constitutional criteria that their office holds. That's not a deep state.
turned on fake news CNN, MSDNC, it was all lies 24/7. Take a look.
Based on our...
So Hannity's just fucking phoning it in tonight. They're just throwing montage after montage. This is the Rocky IV of Hannity clips. Every time you turn around, there's another montage.
Own reporting and word...
Which, by the way, I love Rocky IV. I'm not slamming Rocky IV. It's one of my favorites. And if anything's going to get me to the gym, it's going to be Rocky III or Rocky IV. God damn it. Maybe Rambo 2.
From numerous
and 3. And Cobra.
Official sources, the dossier...
I mean, the dude's shorter than me, and he was buff as shit. It gave me hope as a teenager.
In fact, is far from bogus.
No major thing from the dossier has been conclusively disproven.
We already know that.
Right, that's still true.
That the part about the coverage that they have on him with sex actions is supposed to be true.
Sex actions? It's I think that's one of my favorite Wasp songs. Although I still stick to the, second album being the best one. And by the way, she's talking about the fact that regardless of the Steele dossier, we all heard the Access Hollywood tape, and we just heard him recently go, oh, yeah. I mean, fortunately.
The intelligence community has corroborated, whoever paid for it, has corroborated a lot of the information that was in there to begin with.
That's right, but not the substantive stuff. Just the part where he's nasty and stupid.
Correct. There are actually substantial portions of what was in the Steele dossier, which was a raw intelligence document, that have indeed checked out.
I think we're going to actually have to stop calling it the infamous dossier. Increasingly, it's the accurate dossier. Increasingly, it's the damning dossier.
Not one word has been disproven. In fact, a lot of it turned out to be right on the money.
The dossier, right, which looked sort of out there at first, is getting truer and truer and truer as facts come out.
But some of the
Let's see if you think Sean can finish up? I mean, hold on. We need to see this clip. I know what they're all saying. I want to hear what he has to say. Fucking montage, you cheater.
Hold on, Congressman. Let's go over it.
They were all lying, or
no, they weren't.
Or at best, they didn't care to know the truth.
Now you're just projecting.
The New York Times, Washington Post, they got Pulitzer Prizes for their lies, but
according to the New York Post.
Now, will any of these people ever be held accountable? Of course not.
We'll prove them wrong, dummy. I mean, make a case. File paperwork with the Pulitzer Committee. You've got a whole fucking news organization, Sean. I'm sure somebody in your office can type, right? Draft something up, dumb fuck. Point out the Pulitzer Prize winning material and where it fell short specifically. Do it. I mean, these assholes have been bitching about this for 2 goddamn years plus. In all of that fucking time, you couldn't have somebody in your office or set up your own little side project NGO for $100,000. This motherfucker drops $100,000 running for the bus when he's chasing Greg Kelly, just, stealing his lunch money. But all of these guys have plenty of money sitting around. Plenty. And if you actually gave a fuck, or if any of this was meaningful at all, you'd drop $100K easy on a small team of researchers who would dig into this shit. Do it. And then file a huge report. You could, for $100K these days, between like 10 researchers, a month-long study, and chat GPT, fucking hell. Ugh. Sorry, I have to say something real quick. Let's see if we can do this. Chat room, is somebody talking about there actually being a deep state? We don't actually have someone who thinks there's a deep state in here, do we? We do? Hold on. I wonder if Greg Kelly still takes the bus. No, he doesn't, but I will say that no matter what he's in, even if he's in a limo, he feels like he's on the bus. And that's we can all just enjoy that. Real journalism, come on, Hal. Hey, look, I can call him on it. I don't expect it. Yeah, there is a derp state, but no deep state. I agree. Magoo. Deep state of denial. Yes. Mark Kramer's deep state. Deep undercover. Yeah, I'm just trying. I mean this genuinely. Real, yes, administrative state. Stop being an adult. All right. One legal, illegal. Is that what you're saying? I can't pronounce.
Yeah, look.
I can't pronounce your name there, administrative. That's what it is, the administrative state, because we don't want to fucking musical chairs government because we're a functioning society. Good Lord. Deep state. Okay, so here we go. Back to where we were.
Media mob is still dishonest. The FBI is still politicized. The DOJ is now.
Yeah, and Trump's still a loser. Shit. I guess, Sean, you lose some, you lose some. Take her easy, dude. Like your style.
Now weaponized more than ever, and the Democratic Party is pulling all the strings. Hey.
Yeah, it's so funny how the Democrats, who can't run anything, have just fixed the economy and run all major industries, the entire government, and control NATO. But they're run by a doddering old fool who doesn't know what time it is. It's incredible. It's almost as if you're huffing your own farts, Sean.
I agree. I'm a dope.
Okay, we know that. We know that. And you're not, because you like and support the show. It's Hal Sparks, Mega Worldwide. I'm resetting. I'm trying to learn to reset. I forgot for like 2 weeks. Subscribe. We hit 50K, and then I was coasting. I was resting on my laurels, and my laurels started complaining. They're like, hey, I got a click in my shoulder. You're fucking with me.